Grief makes us all vulnerable. It robs us of discernment. It makes problem solving impossible. It brings us so many unanswerable questions, and we can become desperate for a sense of joy, for unconditional support, or for connection. And this is what makes Grievers a perfect target for scammers. I'm Jo McRogers, a grief therapist who also offers online support. And I have heard so many horror stories from clients, members, and students that they or someone they know has been exploited, scammed, and their grief state has been taken advantage of. Studies have shown that those who are grieving can be more susceptible to scams due to our highly emotional states and the distraction of trying to deal with our loss. I've heard from many people that they have received messages, invitations, and emails from scammers, and grievers are offered a new relationship, a best friend who is also grieving and understands them completely. It could be a family member that is in trouble and needs urgent financial support, or it can be a fake opportunity that brings a sense of support, hope, and a future. A study by the American Association of Retired People, called the Fraud Watch Network, found that 27% of widows and widowers had been targeted by scammers. Now, this is a significant number, indicating a need for increased awareness and vigilance while we are grieving. Scammers may approach grievers in various ways. They may contact you saying that your loved one had ordered other further funeral services and that these need to be paid immediately. Some fraudulent organizations offer grief counseling at ridiculously high rates with very little value. They may try to collect your personal information just for identity theft. Emails and phone calls. Scammers might send emails or call you pretending to be from a legitimate organization, asking for a personal donation or for personal information. Be cautious when you are in this vulnerable state. There is a thing called an inheritance scam. You might receive a notification claiming that you've inherited money from a distant relative, but you need to pay some sort of a fee to claim it. And then there are fake psychic mediums who are offering contact with your loved one, again, for a hefty price. Or you may get calls where people are pretending to be debt collectors, claiming that your deceased loved one had outstanding debts that you need to settle. Please know that all of these scams come from an organized industry that uses obituaries, social media posts, free social media groups as a feeder pool to identify a target. They approach people with the intention to defraud. They have the element of pressure and surprise and urgency. They are an industry of proven successful tactics to defraud. As I am linked with grief on social media, I always receive some version of this actual screenshot. Hello, I hope you don't get this comment the wrong way, but I must say your posts are lovely and interesting. Unfortunately, we are not friends here on Facebook. I tried several times to send you a friend request, but it was canceled. If you don't mind, kindly click on my profile and send me a friend request. I'll appreciate it if you do. Now, this message is kind, it's appreciative, it offers connection, and it gives a false sense of being in control. This is how the scammer wins. Typically, the profiles of the people that send these messages are all made within a 24-hour period. They're often handsome men who list themselves as widowed. They usually have dogs or children in their pictures, and they are often listed as being in the USA military, surgeons, or pilots. So here are some steps you can take to protect yourself. Number one, please always verify the source. Always double check the credentials of anyone offering services or requesting payments. Take a phone number to call them back and compare it to the legitimate source that they are claiming to represent. Tell them you are out walking and you don't have your banking info or a pen and a paper with you. Number 2, please be skeptical of anything that involves urgency. Scammers often create a sense of urgency to pressure us into making quick decisions. Please take your time to verify the information. Slow their roll. They are usually looking for a quick payoff and then they disappear. So slowing things down may actually take you off their list of potential targets. Also, please seek a second opinion if anything feels off. Scammers rely upon isolation and secrecy. Before making any financial decisions, discuss them with someone you trust. Do a Google search about scam alerts. When I searched scam alerts, Google told me that there are over 18,000 searches a month about scam alerts. So clearly, vigilance on our part is needed. Please always use a secure payment. Avoid paying with wire transfers or prepaid debit cards. Gift cards are a real warning. Only use credit cards or other secure payments that offer fraud protection. And also, if you are suspicious or something feels off, just regularly check your bank and credit card statements for any unusual activity. This is hard to do when we are grieving. And then there's the availability of artificial intelligence, and this makes it all that much more complicated. Scammers have the ability now to clone a person's voice to make it seem authentic that it is actually that person asking for your urgent financial help. In the video description, I'll link an article that highlights one woman's experience of being conned this way. Please have a read. There's valuable information there. Because scamming is an industry, they are also able to play the long game. But if the question of money ever comes up, please consider that a massive red flag. Anyone that you've met through social media, even after a long time of engagement and believing that you can trust this person. If you ask to call or video call the person and there is a scammer on the other end, you will hear multiple excuses about not being able to show up in real time. I'm sorry there was bad Wi-Fi, I messed up with time zones, or that they were sick and couldn't come to the phone that day. And then there is the industry of helpers. You can imagine how thrilled I am about certified grief counselor certificates for $79. There's also an article I found while researching. The actual title is How I Passed a Test to be a Grief Therapist Without Really Trying. I will also put that link to the article in the description of this video. If you have been here watching several of my YouTube videos, you will know that I am quick to admit that I am a professional snob. I expect a lot. It makes me so sad and angry that so-called grief therapists are exploiting grievers' trust, their emotional safety, and money. Also, all of the YouTube videos that I post, I personally monitor all of the comments while being vigilant for scammers. I am able to delete those comments, but you would be surprised how time-consuming and insulting this is to those of us who are actually doing our grief work. The services and support that I have created in the Grievolution, I've created them outside my role as a therapist, but I hesitate to call myself a coach or certified, as those are unregulated professions. So calling myself a grief expert sounds so pompous. Do you think that I could call myself a grief specialist for these services and supports? I really want to avoid anything that sounds scammy. So help me out with a suggestion in the comments below so my authenticity can show up. As the first line of defense against scammers, I host all of my Grievolution supports on my own private platform that I've invested money in. These supports are all behind a paywall in order to keep the scammers away. Facebook free groups and Instagram and even YouTube all attract the scammers. And I am determined to provide support in a safe place. It's important to know that you are not alone in this vulnerability. Remember, Google says 18,000 searches a month about scams. So please reach out to trusted friends, family, or professionals if you feel overwhelmed or suspicious of any interactions. Please unconditionally support someone without judgment who is concerned that they may be being scammed. Scammers rely on isolation and secrecy. So with this video, I've begun the conversation about scammers, but please leave a comment below if you or someone you care about has been scammed or has been attempted to be scammed. Let's break the stigma and shame of this right now. You never know when or how your story might help someone else. At the Grievolution, we believe in supporting each other through every step of the grieving process, including protecting ourselves from those who might try to take advantage of our grief. And as you do your grief work safely and being well informed, I send you kind thoughts, kind words, and a kind heart. Thank you, and I'll see you soon again.